Red alert.
So the rants of the week this week is San Francisco launching a transgender guaranteed income program because that's fair. Mayor London Breed announced a launch of a new guaranteed income program for the city's trans community. KTLA sister station KRON reports. The Guaranteed Income for Trans People program, or GIFT, except there's no F in that at all.
Call it a gift?
Yeah, really, it's just the GITP
Guaranteed income
for trans people.
for...
GITP.
Oh, it's because guaranteed, G, income, I, for,
Oh, yeah,
F,
it's for.
trans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where they get the F from. Yeah.
Whatever.
No, it's lazy. It's a lazy
super
acronym.
lazy because usually you never use the word for in an acronym.
Yeah, or at, or in.
We'll provide low-income transgender San Franciscans with $1,200 each month for up to 18 months to help address financial insecurity within trans communities. Breed revealed Wednesday. The pilot program is the first guaranteed income initiative to focus solely on trans people and will provide regular unconditional cash transfers to individuals or households who qualify according to the mayor's office. This differs from other social safety net practices by providing a steady, predictable stream of cash to recipients to spend as they see fit without limitations. The GIFT program will provide eligible trans individuals with temporary income and a range of wraparound direct services, such as gender-affirming medical and mental health care, as well as financial coaching, according to the mayor's office. Cities will accept applications through December 15th, and of course, according to the mayor, they will allow us to help our residents when they need it most as a part of our city's economic recovery. Because spending money is all about your economic recovery.
Yeah. It's big daddy, like big nanny government.
Well,
we will take care
of how Canada decides to embrace and try and change inflation. How are we going to change inflation and turn it around?
We're going to spend more money.
We're going to spend more money.
And we're going to give away more money.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's like in Parliament in the question period, the Conservatives keep pressing on them, like people are suffering, people are having a tough time paying their bills and all that. Don't worry, we're gonna bribe them with their own money. That'll fix things.
That will solve the problem.
Bunch of like I just don't want to say a mean word, but I'm like, yeah, bunch of pricks. I mean, seriously, like seriously, that's like the most like condescending thing you can do. It's bribe people with their own money. But yeah, so this city, if you want to go to the Daily Mail story, I think that one also covers this a bit. The thing is with this story is they're basically creating a charity program for their preferred group, right?
Yeah.
So think about how this works. What they're doing is they keep trying to push this narrative that these people are victims, these people are victims, these people are victims, like just nonstop. That's their thing. They're victims, and it's almost like even like the, what do you call that? The racism of low expectations. What was that thing called, Stephen?
Bigotry of low expectations.
Bigotry of low expectations. They're trying to say, by the way, trans people are generally low income. And I'm like, that is really like almost like it's so, you're assuming that these people like desperately need the money. Now, on the surface, this sounds like compassion.
Yep.
On the surface. But honestly, I think what's really happening here, and if you really like stop to think about it for a second, what they're doing is they're trying to like virtue signal, like, oh, we're helping this marginalized community. That's their big thing. If you're part of the leftist cult, the lunatic left, it's about the marginalized communities, those people that are desperately need your help. Yeah. It's about creating a dependence on government so that, oh, look, the government's our friend. The government's here to help. The government's like supporting us. Hence, government is good. So obviously, this is another big thing. It's a PR stunt for one. Secondly, there's a statistical advantage in doing this because I don't know if you can go to the next story, the Daily Mail story, Stephen. Yep. So one thing I found really crazy about this is look who qualifies. So if you look at the story, it says xenogender, gender outlaw, and gender, whatever F. The San Francisco handout program, which is basically a handout program.
Yep.
It basically lets you choose from 134 genders and pronouns, and you can pick as many as you want. Okay, so if you actually scroll down, you can actually see like there are so many
Yep.
things you can choose from in this. And are you like they even have one on there which is called tomboy. You can actually choose tomboy
Yep.
as one of your preferred identities. Like it's yeah, trans girl, demi girl, sister girl. Uh, is that a cisgender man? Isn't
Yep.
that like straight?
Well, they also have cisgender women. Yep.
So even if you're not trans or gay, you still can qualify. So this is basically a everyone qualifies
Yep.
if you wanted to kind of system. This is like the rubber stamp kind of system if you think about it. Like think about it. If you okay, so when I was in university, I there was a whole bunch of scholarships that you could apply for, but there's a whole bunch that I couldn't apply. I couldn't apply for the ones that applied to women, the ones that apply to, for example, people native communities. I couldn't apply to ones of marginalized communities of like the BIPOC communities.
Mm-hmm.
But now you can apply to all of these. You can get all this free money. How does that help them? It makes it sound like their numbers are higher than they really are. Because let's say, for example, you are a person living in San Francisco, you're poor, you don't have a lot of money, and the government's saying, like, hey, by the way, if you qualify for this, you get a lot of free money. Is it possible for you to game the system, Stephen?
Well, it would be hard seeing by everything that they're allowing on this. It'd be hard not to game the system.
Basically, everyone can get there.
Mm-hmm. A
What
whole bunch
and
of
so
new
that
homeless people are going to be getting $1,200 a month from the government.
and that allows them to pump the numbers up. It's like that meme that what's it called? Matthew McConaughey meme. Like those are rookie numbers. We need to get those numbers up.
Yeah.
So this allows them to increase the statistics for trans people. Um, However, I've also heard like I think like in I don't know if it was this article or the one before. I've also heard that they basically argue that or they made a claim that oh my goodness, like the amount of people that are dying or being hurt by by crime against transgender people is exploding. Um, and they were like like oh my god, they're so like right okay actually at the bottom of this San Francisco the Daily Mail article. So if you go down to the very bottom where like it's all highlighted in this kind of a pale green
Mm-hmm.
at the very bottom. This is one of the claims that they make. So by the way, these are all the stats for San Francisco and how it's deteriorating. But keep going down. At the very bottom, it's like this big thing saying like rising violence against transgender people. Okay, so here it says rising. Okay, so this is what their claim is. They say okay, so at least 32 transgender people have been murdered since 2022, according to a report by the Human Rights Campaign. Stephen, anything about that claim seem potentially suspicious? Anything about that claim? About how they're reporting it? Just off the top of your head, I'm wondering if you can see anything suspicious about that number.
Well, it's odd that it says since 2022, but I guess it's trying to imply the start of 2022.
Sure, like in the year 2022. Here's the first thing I thought of, and the first question I had: what were they murdered for? Because the implication is that they were murdered only because they're transgender. They're transgender, hence they were murdered. And you and I have looked at stats in the past of these so-called transgender murders or deaths, and then consistently what you find is that the people, yes, they were murdered, but they were not murdered because they were trans. They were murdered for other reasons, either for drugs or because of a spat between them and the lover, or because they frequent places that are usually a little more dangerous, like all sorts of reasons. But the way that they look at these numbers, they say, oh, this person was murdered. Were they trans? Let's add that to the number of trans people murdered. And then they use those numbers to in Congress, and the White House uses these numbers, and they make these big stats saying like, oh my gosh, the murders, like trans people are being killed everywhere. And it's this big humongous claim that trans people are somehow being hunted down like crazy animals. It's very similar to the arguments about the black community. Oh, black men are being hunted down by cops. Is that true? No. It's completely manipulated data. But you see this law, and I see this as basically not only a PR stunt, like, hey, look at us, we're being so compassionate and good, but in reality, it's just there's a lot of ulterior motives I can see here. What's your take on this, Stephen? That's my take.
Well, just give me 1 second. I'm just
You got a lot of things going on, eh?
No, I'm just changing one of my settings.
Okay.
Just so that I can. There we go. I just said go to dark. Whatever. Brightness beyond belief.
Yeah, you got
Anyway,
this.
but no, like the first thing that I actually thought of when I saw this policy was because, of course, we've been talking about universal basic income on the show for a very long time. And that's nothing new for us.
No, that's very common.
Very common. But one thing that's sort of interesting, and I kind of assume this is the first statement, is they want to make universal basic income only available for certain people. And it's universal basic income for those who adopt the mantra and the kind of mentality of the left, because those are the ones that are accepting the narratives that they want you to accept. That being said,
that's a good point.
This is only where it starts. If they're saying, okay, well, you basically have to say, well, you don't have to say you're trans. You just have to say you're gender non-normal. And then as long as you say you're
all that.
Yeah, as long as you're like non-conforming to the regular patriarchal system of binary sex, then you get $1,200 a month. And now, of course, then they'll add on top of that it's like, oh, well, you're gender non-conforming to the binary. Now we're going to add on, have you been climate conscious this week? Okay, if you have, then that's another $300. Otherwise, we will have a levy on you. Like, it's moving in the direction where it's making things more difficult for those who do not accept the narrative, and making it easier, and making it so that, oh, well, you're thoroughly dependent on the government, and you will have all of your needs taken care of as long as you accept daddy government and everything that it says. That's the general progression I see this going. Because I knew that universal basic income was never going to be for everybody. It was always going to be, all right, there's a caveat where you need to accept something that the government says, or you need to align with their agenda.
Yeah, you make a really good point, because we've already seen this in the past past year even. The passports. Okay, you get all sorts of benefits if you have the passports, but if you don't have like the vaccine passports, if you don't get the vaccine passport, then you don't get those benefits. We also saw this with what was it? Even here, I heard a story recently where Canada, the Canadian government, basically gave the provinces a promise: we're going to give you all this funding for what do you call it, for healthcare, but in exchange, we want to get all this data about the people. And normally, healthcare is a jurisdiction of provinces, but they're using money as leverage. So expect that this is going to be a more common thing going forward. So I think you raised a good point. The idea that this is totally, it's like, like it's basically what we saw before. We knew the connection, or the parallels between the vaccine passport and segregation, but in a new world where they want to create a Chinese communist style social credit system, you have to play the game. And this is the method that they introduce, soft totalitarianism. Oh, you have a choice, but your choice is either play the game or you're basically removed from society. You're basically like the Hindu in Hinduism, they have the untouchables, the group at the very bottom of the caste system. That's basically what they want to create. They want to create an entire segment of untouchables as a way of control. So, yeah, it's getting bad out there. But so this is what